And so it continues. Alright, let's see. So this is chapter 2. Yeah, alright, so. And thus the first stop of the story begins. Note, centered words in italics means that a track is supposed to play while reading the paragraphs below it. You know, to give it a real sense of realism. Okay, no. It's enough that I'm reading this story. I'm not gonna give it a fucking soundtrack. You don't deserve it, or a channeler, Chris. You simply do not deserve it. Alright. I encourage all new Earthbound fans to read on, enjoy, and review. Disclaimer, the author only owns the story, all property belongs to their respective owners. Jeez, am I supposed to write this every chapter? I don't know. Chapter 2, Bounded to a New Earth. Again, I mean, doesn't make sense, but, you know, few things he's written so far do. Earthbound. Winters. Why is it called? Near Snowwood Boarding School. Oh, yeah. No, fuck you. You don't want to listen to that. I was going to read out what the song was, just in case you were watching and wanted to play this song, but if you do, you're a little bitch. So I'm not going to tell you. Winters was a special place in all Eagle Land where it was always under a thick layer of snow that covered the whole landscape. Scientists had reported that the area might have been greatly altered due to human intervention, but luckily it did not cause any problematic issues to the environment. Animal life was pretty much tame and was never endangered by the cold climate, so it was a peaceful area. That was until Gygas's influence took hold of the animal life, and twisted everyday objects into monsters. Only normal humans would notice the enraged animals, but as for the objects, they would go largely unnoticed till their chosen prey would pass nearby, as orders from Gygas came to their newborn minds. I'm not sure I really understand this, but whatever. Over a hill of snow that overlooked the Snowwood boarding school, a portal opened, and a teenager and his tall Pokemon stumbled down into the cold floor, the portal closing behind them. Shivering at the sudden temperature change, Chris slowly stood back up, Lucario standing up faster than he did. "We're here!" Lucario trailed off in disbelief. They had actually managed to transcend the boundaries of space, and possibly all logic itself, to make it into another universe. Granted, Lucario had done it already, but he had never noticed it. He looked at his shivering trainer. "I'm glad nothing morbid happened when we did this." If you hadn't noticed already," Chris shivered, "I'm not wearing winter clothing." Oh, that's good. We needed another reason for Chris to stutter in this story, because I don't think he's done enough of that so far. I think the one thing the story was missing in terms of the dialogue was having Chris stutter. That joke really was quite underplayed. I think we needed much more of that. The Aura Pokemon shrugged. "I can't even feel that much cold," he pointed out. "Well, duh, you've got fur, I got skin, without the fur," Chris complained. "I'm guessing that oversized hand is not going to help me out with this. I'm so getting a cold." Lucario looked worried, but then he noticed the portal opening up behind them. Standing back, Lucario saw Chris turning around and gasping. "Sorry." Master Hand's voice came from the portal as a blue jacket was tossed from out of it. "It seems you guys were taken to that specific area." Chris regained his composure. He was never going to get used to looking at portals anytime soon. Picking up the jacket that he swore was actually his, he cleared his throat to say, Couldn't you have dropped us off somewhere else warmer?" "Sorry, but the current story timeline is taking place right there," Master Hand shouted. "There's no way to work around this. You could wait a bit for the events of that area to end, but I suspect that the Subspace army has already noticed your presences." The teen did not like what he was hearing. "Meaning?" "Yeah, leaving that area behind like nothing happened will most likely explode in the worst of cases," Master Hand said, after hearing the teen's shocked "explode" word. I mean, I'd make some kind of snarky comment, but I know better than to critique the grammar at this point. Well, I mean, I don't really. I still complain about it, but I like to think I've kind of stopped doing it so much. Also, I'm wasting loads of time by talking so much. I've covered, like, barely anything of this chapter so far. and I'd like to get this finished at some point in the next decade, so let's just continue. After hearing the teen's shocked explode word, the hand said, "Well, off you go now. Try not to get killed, or else it'd be real bad." "Get killed?" Chris shouted, bewildered, as Lucario growled, but the portal closed down conveniently on the hand's favour. What in the hell?" he complained loudly. Lucario continued growling until he stopped, frowning. "Well, we did accept this task," he trailed off. His trainer buried his face into his hands. "I was so blind and meeting other people that I never considered dying on the job much. I'm so ashamed," he trailed off, but Lucario approached him and hung his right arm on Chris. "You still have me," Lucario said. "If anyone lays a finger on you, they will pay with their pain." Ellipsis, Chris sighed. You do all the fighting while I go somewhere to find a stick to beat people with." "Seriously now?" Lucario said in a deadpan tone. "What you expect me to do?" Chris asked, looking up at his Pokemon. "I was given this job system, yet the hand didn't even give me a single..." The hand didn't even give me a single job. If anyone's watching this video, I wonder if you can tell me what's wrong with that sentence, that clause in particular. The hand didn't even give me a single job. You know, I made a joke about that in like an annotation on the last video. I didn't realise it would literally write itself. That's good. "Unless I'm freelancer right now," Lucario immediately said. "Jack of all trades, master of none?" "Except there are no trades," Chris responded. Throwing his arms up, he sighed once more and looked around where they had landed, spotting a landscape of withered trees with snow covering the branches. "I think there's no use complaining right now. Let's just go with the flow, I guess." Lucario surveyed the area with his eyes. He turned around to see the Snowwood boarding school. "I suppose we should head down there," he said, his trainer turning to the brick-fenced building. "The Snowwood boarding school," Chris muttered. "I remember Jeff lives there." I like how he just assumes that you're aware of all the characters in all these stories. So, I guess there's someone in Earthbound called Jeff. I'm just going to have to take his word for it, I suppose, having never played the game myself. But, okay, yeah, no, Jeff. "I remember Jeff lives there, which means we're at the point of the story when Ness and Paula are trapped at the graveyard." Lucario looked down at Chris. A closer look at his trainer made the Aura Pokemon look confused. Chris?" "What is it, Lucario?" Chris looked up to Lucario. The Pokemon didn't say a thing to let Chris tell what was wrong. A closer look at Lucario's face revealed that it had turned rather simplistic. The white of his eyes was gone, and only the red remained behind in the void of black that was his mask-looking pattern. "Oh my god," he muttered. "Yes, I don't have any idea why we look like this," Lucario muttered, seeing that Chris was also affected by some freak change. Chris's head was considerably larger, just as Lucario's, than the rest of his body, but by age standards, he still fit into the world's image of a teenager. "We?" Chris touched his head with his hands. "Dear God, I'm a freak!" he shouted. "I'm a big-headed freak!" Lucario looked serious. "Chris, keep your composure," he said. "I think that the world affected our appearance to make us match with the rest of the population." "The big-headed population, you mean?" Chris said. "What was that about going with the flow?" Chris reminded his freaked trainer. "We should tough it up from here." Not liking the fact that his head somehow had not put on a lot of weight to his frail body, Chris sighed yet again in defeat. Fine. At times like this, I wished Master Hand could have given us some pointers." "Like a manual?" "Fuck you." "I guess." Chris turned back to the Snowwood boarding school. "No use complaining about anything else. Now we somehow have to..." He trailed off, unsure of what he was going to say. "Chris?" Lucario looked away. His trainer turned around to face him. "What?" "Was this all right?" he asked, looking back at Chris. "What was all right?" Lucario closed his eyes. "Well, I was talking about your decision to do this adventure." The trainer remained staring at Lucario before scratching his right shoulder, blushing a bit. "Well, I wanted to have something different," he trailed off, "but I don't know why I jumped at the proposal so suddenly. I mean, when I first saw that people like you could actually exist in the real world, I thought that it was possible for the rest of your universe to do the same as well, but with me going into their homes and then, well, stop there.